Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're continuing Depthcember by playing a more traditional mono-black depths deck, which has had a few upgrades in recent times. So the core part of our deck here is the Dark Depths, and we're trying to remove the counters using Mutated Cultist or Vampire Hexmage. We only have one copy of Thespian stage because we're trying to lean more heavily into these, and there's only so many colourless lands you can run in a deck that is this low to the ground. And the Urza Saga is generally the better one because it tutors for our expedition map or some other nice little tools, whilst giving us an alternative win condition. We've got some Black Disruption to help us out with the Thoughtseize and the Hymn, and we've got a lot of fast mana here to power out our combo. The creatures we're running are disruptive ones that can mess our opponent up a little bit. And we've also got some copies of the One Ring, which we can then dump our Mutated Cultist mana into to cast, or just, have this as a thing we ramp out with a Dark Ritual, which is going to do enough to win the game. Quite often at least. So the Mutated Cultist is a lot like the Thespian stage here, in that it's an uncounterable way of removing the counters that is going to cost us about 3 mana. So 2 mana and the Thespian stage itself, or just 3 mana here. The difference is Thespian stage does it at instant speed, whereas this doesn't. So that is a drawback. However, having fewer colourless lands in our deck is definitely something I want to do, because last time I played this deck, the mana base was a little bit sketchy, so we managed to squeeze in a few more swamps, which should help us out a fair bit. Lavaspur Boots is a really interesting addition to this deck. Not only does it give us hasty 2020s, but sometimes it gives us a hasty Dauthi Voidwalker, which could be really good at just playing this, equipping it, sacrificing, and getting like an Emrakul we Thoughtseized earlier into a previous Dauthi Voidwalker, or something along those lines. So there are some interesting things we can do with the Dauthi Voidwalker. That's pretty much just the deck. Maybe we could trim down on Urborgs because we've gone up on swamps. I'm not sure, but we're going to see how it plays out, because we do want to maximise our draws of turn 1, Urborg Thoughtseize, turn 2, Dark Depths Hexmage. That's kind of where we want to be. Or, we could do Lotus Petal, Mutated Cultist on turn 2. So we've got a lot of options here. For the sideboard, if we need to remove creatures, we got Sheoldred Edict for the big ones. We have Plague Engineer for the little creatures, and we've got ourselves a little bit more hand disruption, a little bit more graveyard disruption, another Pithing Needle against wasteland decks. We just want more of that effect, and then 4 opposition agents to help against some of these combo decks that are going to go underneath us, things that are casting like Beseech the Mirror or Doomsday. That's the plan here. These games should be relatively quick for the most part, and we should be seeing some 2020 action. We certainly played some decks this Depthcember with Dark Depths in, and we didn't get to make a 2020 very often. So this is hopefully going to be all about that Marit Lage. So like and subscribe, become a YouTube member if you want to see my videos early for £1 a month, and strap in for some 2020 goodness. Our opening hand doesn't have any initial mana, so we're going to mulligan. What does this hand do? We turn 1 Pithing Needle, turn 2 start playing an Urza Saga game, but we can also Bowmasters off of that. That seems alright. I'll keep this. I'm unsure what land to throw back. It's either the Shizo or the Urborg. The thing is, if we draw another Urborg, it's not great for us. So I think I'm going to put back the Urborg and give us a little bit of redundancy in our draws, so we don't end up drawing a blank. We have enough mana to cast our spells off with 2 black pips. If our opponent plays something else, maybe we don't Pithing Needle the Wasteland. Alright, what are we getting here? A Thoughtseize. Okay. We can use Mutated Cultist to reset Urza Sagas. So our opponent could be some sort of Grixis Delver deck, or they could be Blue-Black Reanimator. Those are probably the most likely options with this start. It could be Doomsday as well, actually. But I think we're going to play the Pithing Needle on the Wasteland, because 2 of those 3 decks have Wastelands. We just don't want to get caught with it. If they take the Pithing Needle, then it gives us a little bit of information that they are most assuredly working with Wastelands. They did take the Needle. So that might mean that they are quite worried by the Urza Saga. I will play out this Lotus Petal. They know about the Bowmaster, which is awkward. Our opponent probably has Bowmasters of their own, so we don't want to be the first person to play a Bowmaster, but if our opponent has a situation where they want to cast a Ponder or something, we can punish them. It is a question of, do we play it out now or not? Because they know we have it, so they might be sandbagging a Brainstorm, wait until we cast this, and then they fire off the Brainstorm. But if they just have an Orcish Bowmasters themselves, then we're in trouble, because we play the Bowmasters, they ping it down, and we get very little value. An Entomb. Okay, so this is probably going to get an Archon of Cruelty or an Atraxa. There's an Atraxa. So I guess we're going to float our Orcish Bowmasters in response to the Atraxa. So we at least have something in. This isn't really going to do much good for us against this though. Okay. I suspect they'd probably take like Bowmasters, Brainstorm, Ponder, Land. We are very far behind at this point. Chooses Brainstorm, Ponder, Flooded Strand, Orcish Bowmasters. Alright, our opponent has a full grip and a massive creature that we can't touch. We've got to hope that our 20/20 in 3 turns is good enough. Now the problem with that is 3 turns of getting hit by an Atraxa is more than our life total. But we could draw something like a Dark Depths, which we can just speed up the process here. Actually, it's not even 3 turns we get to make our Marit Lage, really, is it? Okay. A Wasteland. Okay, so we don't get to do anything here. I think we just can't beat this, actually. Let's just scoop it up. Okay, I would like a little bit more Graveyard hit, please. Another Pithing Needle for Wastelands is probably fine here. Opposition Agent is an interesting one against Entomb and Fetch lands, but that's about it. We could play something like Sheoldred's Edict so that we're not just stone cold to them after the fact. Hymn to Tourach is very good at obliterating our opponent's resources. But it could put like a big monster in the bin, but because they're an Entomb deck, I don't think they're going to have many creatures in their hand. So this is just going to be a way of messing it up. I don't think we need a Shadowspear. The Lavaspur Boots may be important for some situations because it allows us to do that Dauthi Voidwalker thing if we discard a monster into it. That's something I'm interested in. So we've got 5 cards we want to bring in, so we need to make 4 more cuts. I think this One Ring is too expensive for this matchup. I like the Orcish Bowmasters, I love the Dauthi Voidwalker, obviously. Maybe we can just trim an Expedition map because we have a lot of Graveyard Hate and Disruption that's just going to be generically good here. Their fair plan, not having Psychic Frog, is definitely a detriment for them. Well, would you look at that? It's the classic. The classic hand we love to see. Urborg. Thoughtseize. Let's take a peek. Entomb, Orcish Bowmasters, Daze. I guess we take the Entomb here. That's the scarier thing that our opponent can do. Like an Orcish Bowmasters is not really going to be doing much to us. Flooded Strand. So you can play probably... We're going to take this a little bit slower, so we're going to play Pithing Needle on Wasteland next. This is just going to be a ponder from our opponent almost certainly. Oh no, black, they drew a Thoughtseize. Nope, they just tapped the wrong colour. So I think we just play Pithing Needle around Daze, and then we can play Hymn to Tourach around Daze, or Vampire Hexmage around Daze, depending on what we think is more appropriate. So if our opponent shuffles off this, then we're less likely to need to hymn them first. They did not shuffle. Okay, so we're more likely to need to hymn them first, but they have a Daze. So we're just going to get our Pithing Needle in. Name that Wasteland. And next turn we're going to try and soften their hand. And perhaps we draw something like a Dark Ritual. And that changes things. Because we can then hymn and Hexmage. Provided our hymn hits the right thing, right? No, we don't even need it to hit the right thing actually, do we? We can always play around this Daze. We don't know what our opponent has in hand. Thoughtseize. So they're going to take our Hexmage here to stop us comboing. But then we do just get to blast away half of their hand. Good old Hymn to Tourach. I want to live in a world where Hymn to Tourach is good. And there's a Saga. Okay, we're going to start the Saga plan, I think. Let's tap our Saga for black mana. Pow. So we took out a Daze. I don't know if they still have an Orcish Bowmaster in hand. I'm not going to play around it like they do. But our Construct tokens are already going to be big enough to survive an Orcish Bowmaster because of our Pithing Needle. Okay, they shuffled off that Ponder. That's good news. Get some free damage off our opponent. I think this is... Alright, they're just scooping it. They wanted to see if we had another card, and we just give it up to our Saga. Alright, that works quite well. I guess we just go back in and try it one more time. I don't want to try and tease my opponent here with the Opposition Agent. It is good against the Entombs, but I think we're better off fighting that with our Graveyard Hate. And our Hand Disruption. In terms of our fair creatures, we're not getting rid of Bowmasters or Dauthi Voidwalker in this matchup. Our opening hand here doesn't have particularly admirable amounts of mana, so I think we're going to send this one back. I heard you like Urza Saga. Okay, I guess we keep this one. I think I put back... I kind of want to put back this Expedition map. Is that... Because the Mutated Cultist can just make our Dark Depths on turn 2. On turn 3, sorry. So I guess we can put back one Saga. Just have more artifacts and go that way. Kind of a weird hand. We're pretty reliant on this Lotus Petal, so we probably want to play this out so it doesn't get taken from our hand via a Thoughtseize. But it is a weird looking hand. Alright, we're getting Thoughtseized. Okay, they should take the Lotus Petal, I think. They could take the Mutated Cultist and just cut us off of this. They did take the Cultist. Alright, I can live with that. Shizo, Death, Storehouse. Our opponent will know what we've drawn here. I think that's okay. I'll play this out so it doesn't get discarded. So our opponent has paired information in our hand. We start cranking the Saga. Thoughtseize. They wanted to see the other card we had. But they knew our hand. Why are they Thoughtseizing there? Are they doing Death Shadow stuff? I have considered Death Shadow Reanimator as a thing. It used to be back in the day. That's what its alternative 1-drops was. Just throwing out a Street Wraith and then reanimating on turn 1. Okay. So play this. It doesn't get to learn how to make mana. It's kind of important for us. I'll play this Dark Depths as bait. Not going for it. Interesting. This also means that we could just draw a Hexmage and have another Wasteland. Well, that's probably pretty bad news for us. A Swamp. Okay. Don't hate that one. So now we can Expedition map for a Thespian stage, and that forces action off of our opponent's Wasteland. An Orcish Bowmaster, we don't care about that. If we died to the Orcish Bowmaster, then, you know, we would have died to literally anything at this point. But Surveil action for our opponent. They left it on top. Sure. Let's crack the Expedition map. I'd like to go and find this one-off Thespian stage. Going for this Shizo. Very curious. An Expedition map. Right, I'm going to play out this Saga. I'm going to Wasteland it, sure. Play another Expedition map. So we're just trying to dodge Brazen Borrower at this point. We've got some hand disruption. We can use our Petal to cast a Hymn and just blow our opponent's hand up. If we find one. We did board in 3 more. We've also got the 4 Thoughtseizes, so that's a decent chunk of cards that can interrupt our opponent's plans over there. I think I'm just going to play this as a Saga. I think that's the individually more powerful thing we can do. We have a decision about whether or not we crack the Expedition map or we keep it available as a thing that's going to pump our constructs so that it can trade more favourably. Well, the Wasteland, sure. Just going to get another Urza Saga. Now imagine if this Orcish Bowmaster was Psychic Frog. Even though I don't think they ban enough things, they definitely ban the more important things, and that is something that they need a little bit of credit for. So I don't want to just go straight for 2020, or I think I just want to make Urza Saga work here. We're not under that much pressure right now. This can find us a Nihil Spellbomb as well when it pops. And that secures us from not getting killed by reanimation stuff, which can obviously blow up our Dark Depths token because they can get the Archon of Cruelty, and Sack Trigger is bad news for us. This Orcish Bowmaster is dealing us small increments of damage that we can largely ignore. Mutated Cultist. Interesting. I think I'm just going to make a construct here. We're expecting Brazen Borrower type stuff from our opponent. What would they not have been casting in this situation? Reanimate spells, Brazen Borrower. Those are kind of the things that they wouldn't cast in this situation. Or removal spells like Sheoldred's Edict, that sort of jam. So if we make some tokens, Sheoldred's Edict can't take out our Dark Depths. And again, we're not under any pressure here. This is just a Grizzly Bear, basically. And they can't attack anymore because we have a 3/3 on blocks. Obviously, if we play the Mutated Cultist, that would have been a 1/3 on blocks and would have been fine as well. But this way, we can just leverage the power of our cards and just try and squeeze every drop out. I think if we can go to our turn without getting reanimated upon, I think we are in good shape. Because cranking out a couple of Urza Saga constructs and 2020 is a lot. It will cost us a Lotus Petal if we want to make the 2020. But I think it's worth doing. We can always just play out the... No, we won't have enough if we play this out, will we? No, we will, right? We'll have this mana left over and we can play out the stage and do it instant speed. It costs us more lands, though, is the thing. Our opponent paused for nearly 5 minutes then, I'm not sure. Hopefully they're okay in their real human life. But they are now quite far down the clock. I don't think this game is going to come down to clocking, but it's another lever we can pull. Let's go and get our Nihil Spellbomb to attack. I think I'm going to play out the Thespian stage so we can make an instant speed guy if we want to. This way we can also pay black mana into the Nihil Spellbomb, whereas if we do it with the Mutated Cultist, we don't get that luxury. Sucking a Troll, sure. So we have lethal damage and construct, so they're going to have to get some chump blocks soon, but they do have 2 ready-made chump blockers over there. If they tap out of Petty Theft / Brazen Borrower mana, then we'll just make a 20/20. Seems unlikely they'll tap out. They've got 4 mana over there. If they try and reanimate this troll, this could be bait for an Entomb reanimate. So we have to consider that. But I think we can beat this troll in combat, potentially. I don't know. 6/5 is a lot. They're not tapping out over there. We can also remove one of their blockers using our Mutated Cultist by removing all the counters from the Orc army. Oh, wow. Love me him to Tourach. Let's soften up that hand, shall we? Now we can use this. Okay, so the Force of Will pitching attracts her. Okay. Let's attack. So we can use this Urborg like a Lotus Petal. Let's get rid of the other one. Let's get 20/20. Petty Thefting our Nihil Spellbomb. Okay. Like, this costs us 0 mana to redeploy now. Because of our Mutated Cultist. Alright, they're just done with us. Alright, so we got a match win there. Let's go to round 2. We're going to need some more mana here, but we're on the draw. So we've got 2 shots at finding mana here. It only takes 1 more mana for his hand to pop off. We do have some 1 mana plays. I guess I'm going to keep this one. If we miss a land drop for 1 turn, it's not the end of the world. A Grindstone. So we're up against some sort of Painter's Servant deck. Most likely mono red, but there are some builds that splash other colours around there. Right, we found the Urborg. So this means we are just playing the Urborg out in case we draw the Dark Depths and you can just go next turn. Pyroblast, the One Ring. I don't care about the Pyroblasts. We'll take a copy of the One Ring, I guess, so they can't refresh the One Ring. And then also, if our opponent doesn't find an additional mana and we find a discard spell, we can take the One Ring completely. Now this does expose us to things like Painter's Servant into Pyroblast. A Vampire Hexmage. I think the play here is play a Swamp, play a Dauthi, just get that up and running. So this will shut off any Welder shenanigans or Goblin Engineer shenanigans. So if they've got the alternative kill condition of Agatha's Soul Cauldron, this will shut that off. Bait into the One Ring. Here it is. Yep, and they've gone for the art that I'm not particularly a fan of. I think Magic cards should look like Magic cards. That's my hot take. Oh, it could look like that. That looks a bit better, doesn't it? Alright, so the card advantage they're going to accrue from this One Ring is going to bury us, so we need to win before they can leverage it. And Urza's Saga. Have a little swing. I'll make this expedition map with the intention of cracking it for a Dark Depths, so we at least have something big that can win the game. Painter usually struggles to beat Marit Lage. They can Pyroblast your land if they have Painter in play, but we're just trying to not die to this stuff. We can get the Pithing Needle for Grindstone off of the Urza Saga, but we need our opponent to not find a Painter next turn. Another Grindstone, okay. Let's go fishing. Dredge up this delicious Marit Lage producing land. Play out Dark Depths. So we could just make a construct because next turn we can make an instant, we can make a hasty one. I think it's okay just to play the double Hexmage out here. I'm going to leave the Dauthi Voidwalker back. So the reason for doing this, which order is this? Oh god. Tap, put a bird encounter on the One Ring, then draw a card for each bird encounter. So you can make it so you only draw 1 card instead of 3 by sacrificing one of our Hexmages here. I think that is a reasonable thing to do. So we'll wait for them to tap this and then we'll remove the counters. Because we just need to survive this turn. So instead of drawing 3, then you get to draw 1 card. The amount of little corner cases you find with the Hexmage is delightful. So we're leaving the... Okay, so they have the Hexmage. The Painter here, sorry. So we're going to try and bait our opponent to use this Pyroblast out. So they want the value of trying to Pyroblast this Dark Depths, and then it goes underneath our Dauthi, then our Dauthi can use it to kill the Painter. They've gone for it. Okay. That's really handy. Although they showed us they have a Pyroblast in hand here. So they're just going to Pyroblast back. Yep, sure. That was a shame. Okay, so what would I like here? Removal spells are reasonable. Nihil Spellbomb, Pithing Needle, also reasonable. Plague Engineer, not so good. You don't see as many Goblin Welders as you used to. Opposition Agent is pretty good, as are these hymns. A whole bunch of stuff that I like the look of. What do I not really need here? I don't think we need the Lavaspur Boots or the Shadowspear. I don't think that's what this game is about. Thoughtseize is obviously very good here. Orcish Bowmasters kind of medium here. It can make a Fail the Mirror Breaker dig less cards, but I don't think that's what I'm about. So how many cards are we getting in? We're getting 6 cards at the moment. So what are the 6 best cards from this? I quite like the Opposition Agent. Just strip out some of their scary things. I like a couple of removal spells. Do we want to trim any copies of the One Ring? Because we're likely to be putting Pithing Needle on the One Ring, so maybe we take out the One Rings here and add in a Pithing Needle and 2 more removal spells. That seems alright, because we need a way of actually killing the painter. This is a turn 2 2020. I'll keep this. We came to game. I will play out this Urborg first. Do I need to play out this Petal? I don't think so. There's no Vexing Bauble in the format now, so this isn't going to get countered. Our opponent might have brought in something that can blow up artifacts. It's possible. They're not going to attack our hand. A Goblin Welder. A Vampire Hexmage, you say. So, I'm not actually a big fan of that play. I think we should have just killed the Welder. Because if they go Great Furnace into Engineer, they can go and get a... Oh no, we shouldn't let this resolve. That was such a spew. I was too busy talking. So we should... so we should have killed their creature. Or we should have made it in response. We made 2 mistakes in that playing turn. That's not where I want to be. Because they're just going to Pyroblast now. So we can't do this. I like the Thoughtseize here though. That helps us out of this spot we've put ourselves in. Like if they Pyroblast, we make it in response. Okay, they got 4 cards in hand. We get to take one and then we get to take one of their creatures. I do not want this Goblin Engineer around. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. Okay. They need a good draw here. They might have something like a Dead and Gone out of the sideboard. It's unlikely, but it's possible. Alright. So I didn't like how I played that game at all, but it worked out for us. I think we made a couple of awkward ones error-wise there. So we could have killed the Engineer, because if they'd have drawn an artifact, they would have been able to put an Ensnaring Bridge in play, and we are decidedly weak against the old Ensnaring Bridge here. I guess we will submit. We could run something like Gate to Phyrexia, which is a card that if you're not familiar with, it's black, you sacrifice a guy in your upkeep and you blow up an artifact, I believe. It's an enchantment. It's a weird old card. What do we like about this hand? I like that we have a Pithing Needle. I don't like how bad this expedition map looks. We're going to have to spend turn 1 making this, turn 2 cracking this, and then turn 3 we still don't get to go because we don't have an Urborg. We don't get to leverage our hand disruption here. This is already a mull to 5. I think we can do better. This is not better. Let's mulligan. Okay, we can keep this one. I guess we get rid of this Cultist. And do we get rid of this Ritual? I don't think we can afford a double Ritual hand here. So I think we're going to either Thoughtseize or Opposition Agent, depending on what our opponent does. And there's a Saga. Okay, so we want the Opposition Agent for when this pops. So I think we're just going to Thoughtseize first. Does this change anything? No, I don't think it does right now. Let's have a little look at what you're working with over there. A Goblin Engineer, that can get right out. So they've got the Tomb, so they can always threaten to make constructs now, which is pretty good. 3 mana makes us this, so it doesn't really matter that much. Okay, so I guess we Dark Ritual Opposition Agent in our opponent's turn. Yep, so they're going to make a 1/1, then they're going to get a 2/2, and then we'll have a 3/2. So wait for them to put some triggers on the stack, and then we'll interact with our little friend here. You can make your token, and then we can flash in Opposition Agent, ruining people's day. This also helps us not get shooted up and Ensnaring Bridge against. Okay, so they have Mountain, 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 Pyroblast, Pyroblast. So I'm going to take this Grindstone. So now our opponent never gets to try and paint a combo us. Well, they can, but they have to do it in a really awkward fashion. We trade in here. I don't think we trade in when we can do some Sheoldred's Edict stuff if we need to. A land wouldn't be the worst. Thoughtseize. We know our opponent's hand does nothing. So we can just strip out one of these and continue on with the show. I think that's fine. Sacrifice a creature token. We can do it in our opponent's turn because they've already shown they're going to attack. Maybe we attack there and try and get them to block. But if they play a creature that we actually want to kill, we at least have the Sheoldred's Edict up for it, so it just allows us the most plays. Right, there's one of their mountains, so we know they've still got another mountain and a Pyroblast in hand. Creature token of their choice. So we can just clean this up. And then we can start sending our creatures in. Like a Dauthi, that cuts off their graveyard angle. Next turn we're probably going to go Grindstone, Thoughtseize, because our opponent's had enough time to draw some cards that we might see something worth taking. There's the other mountain, so we know they've got 2 Pyroblasts and 2 mystery cards. A Pithing Needle. Is this going to name Grindstone, or is it going to name Hexmage, or is it going to name Dauthi Voidwalker? They're all pretty good options here. Naming their own Grindstone is a weird one. So what they have to do is they have to make sure that once they put a painter into play, we are the next player that draws a card. So they can still Grindstone combo us, but they have to be careful about when they deploy their painter. Dauthi Voidwalker. Okay, so Dauthi Voidwalker is just a beat stick now. I would like to Thoughtseize my opponent here. We'll take one of these Pyroblasts and leave them with Pyroblast and a mountain. They love Pyroblast and mountains over there. Let's bash and play out this expedition map instead, because this can go and find us the Dark Depths if we want it to. The One Ring. Yep. Good card is good. Let's crack this and go and get Dark Depths. Let's play Dark Depths out. Play the Grindstone. There's no point attacking because we didn't deal them damage because of the One Ring. But we have lethal next turn. So they can assemble Painter and Grindstone. They have enough mana to deploy and win the game here. They did not have it, and we take down the match. All right, let's go to round 3. Okay, this gets us where we need to go. We've got Wasteland Protection, then we can hymn them, then we can go and get our little land. We've got some good options, and there's some nice draws that speed things up a touch. Once upon a time, we're looking at Eldrazi, we're looking at Cradle Control. Let's find out. Could be something like the Cloud Post decks as well. A Microspawn. Okay, we know what our opponent's playing. Well, I guess they could be Cloud Post still. The Eldrazi Temple seals the deal a bit there, though. Dark Depths, not really the one we wanted there. Let's play this Pithing Needle on Wasteland to keep ourselves safe. I'll play out a Petal. I don't think I'm going to burn it on the Expedition map. Like if we burn it now or we burn it next turn on the Expedition map, it makes no difference because it's a temporary piece of mana anyway. It's not like we get to save on having it in play for next turn already. And if you're wondering why we're playing Lotus Petals and not something like a Chrome Mox or a Mox Diamond, I don't think we have the cards to support those, and we're quite a mulligan-centric deck. So having things that give us mana for fewer resources is a good sign. A Chalice of the Void where X equals 1. Sure, that is a reason to have done things differently there. A Lotus Petal. Okay, I guess we are playing Shizo's Death Storehouse. Are we doing that? We have one Thespian stage to draw. I think I'm going to just fire off this hymn. We took the Soul Microspawn, that's good news. I will play out this Lotus Petal. We don't get to play the Expedition map into the Chalice anymore. And we're just looking at drawing one of 9 cards in our deck. Now we can also just draw the One Ring and start drawing heaps of cards, and that's also a very strong thing to be doing. An Ancient Tomb. I do like Shizo's Death Storehouse. Once upon a time at a GP in, I want to say Bilbao, I played a Abzan, or Junk as we used to call it back then, a Junk deck that had a bunch of legends in it, like Door in the Siege Tower and things. And I had a few of these Cycle of Lands in it, and they were actually pretty good. It was a fun tournament. Okay, I have Ugin. So our opponent's getting close to having a ridiculous amount of mana. Can we draw one of our pieces? We can. Oh, good. Big fan of drawing the thing we needed there. The downside that we're now up against is our opponent is a Kozilek's Command deck. Kozilek's Command is not good for our health when we're trying to make a 20/20 with mana value 0. Maybe we'll get a Kozilek's Command ban at some point. It'd be nice. For me, specifically. Oh wow, they didn't have anything. Beautiful. Okay, so Plague Engineer kills Eldrazi spawns. I think that's a relatively important thing to have access to. Killing their stuff, stopping their wastelands. These are all things that I'm in favour of doing. Orcish Bowmasters looks rubbish here. Do I want these Hymn to Tourach? Do I want these Opposition Agents? Opposition Agent is just to stop the Eye of Ugin, but I think if it's gotten to that point, you've probably lost already. I don't hate the Hymn to Tourach here, to be honest. Definitely some merit to it as a card. But where are we fitting it all in? Is this a matchup where we have time to do the One Ring stuff? Uncertain, but having protection with the One Ring is very nice against our opponent. But how much life will we have to leverage? Is this a matchup where we want to do Dauthi Voidwalker things? We could just be getting rid of this entirely and pulling in like some more hymns. Just soften up our opponent's hand. And we probably don't need the Shadowspear. I think the Lavaspur Boots is better because it means we might just be able to get that one crack off and hit and win the game. So we're just trying to slow our opponent down a touch. Or take out some annoying things. Because if they're playing to the board, it means their hand is very susceptible to him. Okay, this is a bit of a weird one. We him our opponent on turn 1 and we him our opponent on turn 2. Yeah, you keep mulliganing their opponent. Maybe we get a complete non-game by just discarding all their lands. The dream. Oh, mulligan to 5. And me with these Hymn to Tourachs. Magic as Richard Garfield intended right there. Just, nope, no fun for you. Have this hymn. Once upon a time. A Cavern of Souls. We're going to see this one straight up? Or are they going to... Okay. They weren't going to sandbag it. They're just playing it. This means the chances are they're not making a turn 1 play. Okay, they got Lotus Petal. Maybe they make a turn 1 play here and then we just vaporize the rest of their hand. So it's going to be the 2 mana 2/2. Chance of Void X equals 1. Sure. We can also strip the counters off this at a later date if we want to. Oh, we could just make a 20/20 on turn 1 instead. How does that sound? Does that sound better than a Hymn to Tourach? I don't know if it does. Weirdly. I think I'm just going to just hymn my opponent and just make them have a miserable time. Simply having a wonderful, miserable time. Goodbye, your hand. I'll play this. Oh, they had a Kozilek's Command, so I'm very glad we did that. Next turn, we just make a 20/20, and that should hopefully be the end of the game. An Eye of Ugin. This does not cast Kozilek's Command. Say hello to my little friend. I'm not even sure they can draw this turn. I guess they can draw a Wasteland, actually. We probably should have cracked this. That was foolish of me. They can't cast Kozilek's Command with the mana they have. We just get 20/20. We go to Squiddy Dilly Town. Just take a look at what they got over there. If casting Hymn to Tourach is wrong, I don't want to be right. Put it that way. Pretty sweet. And now we're 3-0, so positive record locked in already. Let's get around 4. A little turn to Marit Lage action. Sure, I will keep this. I don't think we try and Dark Ritual anything out right now. I think we just play an expedition map off of the swamp. Let's see what the next turn holds for us. An island. A ponder. What flavour of deck is our opponent? I think given they chose not to shuffle off the ponder. Okay. Let's see if our Dark Ritual resolves. Oh, I just snap resolved. Like, you came here to see me play some little friends, didn't you? So let's do that. So in our opponent's upkeep, we make this to dodge Wasteland. I'm not expecting Stifle out of our opponent here. If they got the Stifle, then sure, you get me. So they have to have Brazen Borrower type card right now. Now if they're a white deck and they just plow this, then sure. Another blue. It's just... Snap! Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, oh snap indeed. Pretty good. Alright, we know our opponent's playing some sort of high tide deck now. Always fun to have a bit of fun with your opponent as well. Okay. I'm going to play this as a Saga and hold up Orcish Bowmaster. Orcish Bowmaster is pretty good against high tide in general. They want to draw a lot of cards with things like Meditate and cantrips of all shapes and sizes. We crack this, they immediately brainstorm. I think we need to get some pressure down here. Our opponents played around our Bowmasters and they're going to brainstorm in response to the Bowmasters. They went to cast a brainstorm and then eased off, but this bought us another turn with our opponent not doing anything too troublesome. Would like to find a land naturally so we can start doing Heirs of Saga stuff. This might get counterspelled. Another brainstorm. Yeah, you get all those brainstorms out of your hand. So our opponent's deck kind of, as a mono blue deck that would normally struggle to answer Marrowlage outside of 1 or 2 Brazen Borrow, was actually playing probably a full complement of snaps, which is quite funny how that lines up. Alright, let's get a little ping down, we get some damage going. Can we draw a land? Well, we did draw a land, didn't we? This is going to telegraph the speed at which our opponent needs to operate, I think. I'm going to play a Dark Depths, I think. Sapphire Medallion. Yep. Merchant Scroll. This is probably going for a High Tide. So this suggests to me that they're not trying to win this turn. What does that mean for us? Let's go and get that there Thespian stage, I think. We have one of them in there somewhere. Thespian stage. Yep, there it is. Kind of wish we had some black mana now. I will float some mana. Are you going to crack your Floodstrand? They are. Okay. So we're going to go and get a Lotus Petal so we can just him our opponent here. I think that's more important than doing anything else. So Lotus Petal. Play out our land for turn. Jam this into our opponent. Let's take half of your hand, please. We can pay around Daze or even a Spell Pierce here. What did we get? We got 2 snaps. Oh snap indeed. So now we have this Expedition map. They do have a High Tide though, so if they've just got a draw... Well, if they've got a draw spell in hand, it can get a little bit awkward with this Bowmaster in play. I know, this game feels relatively even. I think our opponent has plenty of draws in their deck that just let them go off here, because High Tide plus Sapphire Medallion is a boatload of mana. Right, we will attack with these 2. We will Expedition map our way towards an Urborg here. Go and get that sweet, sweet Urborg goodness. A Hexmage in. Boom. They're 3 snaps down. Surely they're not going to have another one. They got a counterspell for this. Is not the end of the world for us. Because that's just one less card they have to do their combo with. Alright. Now we still have access to Marrowlage next turn through the Thespian stage. But every turn that goes by, it gets a little scarier in terms of what our opponent could deploy. Well, this is kind of a perfect draw, really, because we still have the 3 mana because of the Urborg. Love Urborg. What a card. A Remand. Huh. So this is 3 damage. Our opponent's going to go to 7. And then we play this, and then we attack for 6 next turn. So if we Thoughtseize, it takes a turn off of our clock. But I'm kind of worried that our opponent has something good here. I am going to be a coward, I think, and play Dauthi Voidwalker into Thoughtseize. Because if we take some counter magic, it just goes under the Dauthi and helps us out in a big way. They can go off without the High Tide using the Sapphire Medallion. It's harder, but it is a way that they can start things going. Brainstorm, Ponder, High Tide. Okay, so I guess we take the High Tide. And then we crash for 3. They probably have to cast one of their draw spells this turn. Possibly even both of them. Right, let's ping our opponent for a bit. So they're definitely dead on the next turn. But their deck will struggle to win the game without drawing extra cards. Like, they might be a Time Spiral deck, and that draws them 7, which is not where they want to be here. High Tide. Okay, here is their attempt. So this is a Ponder. This is going to ping them for a little bit. So this is why I didn't think the Hexmage, the Marrowlage was the correct option when we could play the Dauthi Voidwalker and something else. So they did not shuffle off that Ponder. That is pretty wild to me. So they got a snap for our Bowmaster. Mission Briefing. They're going to snap our Bowmaster. If the last card in their hand is a draw spell, then that's pretty good. Oh, snap again. So what is the 1 card left in their hand? Time Spiral, you say? You got 1 mana up and 7 cards in your grip. And now you've also got your lands as well, which are all double. I guess we are letting our opponent roll this one through. They did not use Ponder's ability. That doesn't bode well for us. Spellseeker, this can go and find another High Tide, or it can go and find a Snap, and then bounce the Spellseeker, generating mana as well as they go. Oh, Snap indeed is certainly the name of this particular game. There's a Spellseeker. We're going to go and see the same again. Just generating some Storm until they can, like, Mind's Desire or whatever. They probably win with Jace. It could be Thassa's Oracle. I think they usually tend to run Jace, though. Just all the snaps. All these cards are getting exiled, though, so they won't have another go with them if they have some sort of Time Spiral line. Okay, so they're brainstorming to get the shuffle off of the Spellseeker. All very clean operations over there. Another snap. And another Spellseeker. So all the snaps in their deck are gone now, so they have to find something else. A Brain Freeze. So 15 times 3 is 45. 16 times 3 is 48, which is the exact number of cards in our library. So they can mill us out. GG's. So we definitely have some tools for this one that I like the look of. Hymn to Tourach seems pretty good. Opposition Agent, when we've seen Merchant Scroll and the Spellseeker, is pretty decent too. So we've got 7 cards I'm interested in having access to. I don't think we need the Shadowspear in here at all. Orcish Bowmasters looks good. Dauthi Voidwalker is kind of medium here. Is the One Ring where I want to be? I don't think it is. The game's kind of going to be decided before then. I guess we take out the Lavaspur Boots. Do we take out the Lavaspur Boots? Maybe we take out 1 Expedition map. And 1 Cultist, I think, here. And then that leaves us needing 1 more card. We don't need Pithing Needle, actually, do we? That's relatively clean. I don't know if our opponent has some sort of sideboard pivot. I doubt it. If this was an Urborg, I would adore this hand. But it's not, so we're going to mulligan. Okay, Orcish Bowmasters is good. You heard it here first, right? Okay. So our opponent's combo is one that takes a few turns because they need to have lands in play. So as opposed to other Storm decks, they have a bit more interaction because they play at a slower pace because they need to have enough lands to make High Tides worth it. I'll play this out. We'll hold up this Expedition map crack as well as our Bowmasters. Let's see if we can get a Bowmasters on our opponent here. Now, I'm not in love with doing the combo, to be honest. I think I'm just going to get Urza Saga. I think that's better against our opponent that has got all these snaps and ways of finding snaps in their deck. Playing Urza Saga. Play Expedition map. Our opponent's deck doesn't run Daze because they can't be bouncing their lands because that sets them back too much. So you don't have to play around specifically Daze. They didn't show us any Meditates either, so I think they're probably just on... go on then. Who am I if not somebody who wants to cast an Orcish Bowmaster in response to your Ponder? So they're probably on just like the Time Spirals and the Spellseeker combos as their way of generating card advantage. Okay, they didn't immediately snap, which is something. So we have the Lavaspur Boots, which we can use to make our constructs large and swing for more damage. So we can get a hit in the first turn that we get the second construct. Why couldn't that first hand we have just have that Urborg in and just send all those Hymns of Tourach at our opponent? Okay, they did not shuffle off the Ponder. Sapphire Medallion. You got it. Plays out. Let's get some damage up there. So next turn we'll have a what? A 1, 2, 3. So I have 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're going to be 1 damage shy next turn of killing our opponent. Now they might just kill us this turn. Uh-oh. Not a fan of this High Tide. Well, I like the second one even less. Spellseeker. This goes and gets a snap. And then they snap. And then we are sad. We don't have anything that we can get like a channel land of some description. The channel land Takenuma is not very good anyway. So I'm glad we're not playing it in our deck. So we're going to see this snap a few times. And maybe the last snap will bounce our Bowmasters. I definitely think we've got the tools to win this matchup. So Like a bunch of hymns, Thoughtseize, and Opposition Agent feel really, really good into this matchup. But, you know, we got to draw them and stick them. Like, the Bowmasters is very good, but just not quite good enough. Right, they've already got Storm up to 8. They need Storm 17 to kill us. Just probably gets the 4th snap. But I'm curious where this last snap gets pointed. I have to imagine it's at the Bowmasters to allow them to fire off some kind of time spiral. Since that seems like their big reset engine is a time spiral. Oh, they got a Brain Freeze. Are they just going to Brain Freeze twice? Spell Seeker. Reveals a Remand. Brain Freeze. Okay, so they're going to remand their own Brain Freeze here. And then they recast it. Pretty nice. They just had a line that didn't care about drawing extra cards. So they get to draw 1 extra card here. And they cast Brain Freeze again and kill us. There it is. Alright, GG's opponent. Yeah, I think we definitely have tools to win this matchup. I think they're odds on to win game 1 a lot of the time. So we have to really make sure we can leverage our useful sideboard cards to win game 2. But that's 4 rounds in the book. And we are 3-1. So the 4-1 is still on the cards and the positive is locked in. Let's get to it. Okay, our opener is kind of bad, right? We just have a Dauthi Voidwalker, nothing else. Now, Dauthi Voidwalker might be great, but we just don't know that. I think we have to mulligan to something that has a bit more going on. Oh, these Urborgs. This is the first time we've been stung badly by having 2 of them in our opener. Oh dear, oh dear. So we can play the Pithing Needle on a Wasteland, and then we just have a Lotus Petal effectively of the Urborg. I do like a lot of these cards in our hand. I think we're supposed to mulligan though. The mana's just so iffy there. Alright, rewarded. We'll keep this. Urborg, Hexmage, Depths. We get rid of an Urborg, we get rid of a Mutated Cultist. Done. Wasteland can ruin our day. Play an Expedition map. I don't know if we're going to be needing to Dauthi Voidwalker on 2 or if we're going to need to Hexmage. I doubt we need to Dauthi Voidwalker because our opponent's probably just going to go Entomb now, if that's what they're all about. Okay, Meticulous Archive. So probably looking at Stifle Knot. There's the card on top. There could be like a slower controller deck as well. Do I play the Hexmage out? Or am I just tutoring with this Expedition map? Or I can play out the Dauthi Voidwalker. I can play out the Dauthi Voidwalker actually. I'm not playing out the Hexmage into what our opponent has open up there. Alright, we're just in. So we have a creature that will need an answer at some point, and that can hopefully absorb a Swords to Plowshares from our opponent's deck. Because if you show me a Meticulous Archive, your deck 100% has a Swords to Plowshares in it. Hedge Maze. Okay, so we're probably looking at Nardu then. So we could die next, not next turn, but turn after, which might be too late for us to actually get going with how we need to be going. Left the card on top with this one as well. So this looks like the Nardu Zenith, which is sort of like the slowest, controlliest version with like Teferis and that sort of jazz. A Savannah. Oh look, it's a bird. Oh no, it's a Teferi. I'm going to bounce our guy. They are. Okay. Consider my guy bounced. Let's play this Saga out. Let's cast a Thoughtseize. Swords to Plowshares. So if they find... I think we take the Swords to Plowshares. They have to hit a land to get the Nomads comboing. Actually, if we take the Nomads and then deploy the Hexmage, if they play the Nardu, they die. To find a land here, it's obviously bad for us. But we have the ability to go again. I think this is the best way to find a path that actually can win us the game. Can win us the game. Alright, they're going for the Nardu here. So this is a chump blocking Nardu. Understood. They have this as well. Okay. Are we just jamming our guy? I don't think we are. So this goes up 1. If we tap these 2, we go and get a land. What does that do for us? I kind of want another creature here. They're not going to be able to cast this Dread Return. The Dread Return is suggesting that they're more on a breakfast build. Which means I probably want this Dauthi Voidwalker in play. I do really like having an Urza Saga though. So if we fetch a land first, that probably is better, isn't it? So this can get us a Thespian stage. We could get the Shizo. I don't think that's really where I want to be though. Play this out, play this out. So we could use this to activate and get a construct. But I think we're better off getting this Dauthi Voidwalker in. So they're showing us Dread Return, which probably means they're at breakfast. Like a one-of Teferi. And then we carry on. We can use our Hexmage to kill the Teferi. Because we don't really want this to be up to 3 counters again, because that's when it starts bouncing our stuff. Or targeting their own Nadu with a bounce, and then lets them reset their Nadu. Oh dear. So the Dauthi Voidwalker can just kill the Teferi anyway. We need to pop out their exile zone because we're getting some cards underneath our Dauthi. I don't believe our opponent is going to tap out of this Swords to Plowshares anytime soon. But maybe they plow our Dauthi, and then we can do a hasty 2020. Nomads in Court. Okay, so that's almost certainly going to be the game right there. They get to draw 4 cards now and then 4 cards on our turn. I don't think we beat that, but I'm going to see a little bit more just to confirm if they are breakfast or just a weird Nadu build. Like, they should be breakfast with the Dread Return. Okay, there is the Illusionist. That'll do for me. They can just win the game right now as well. Okay. What looks good here? Nihil Spellbomb seems useful. Hymns Tourach seem very useful. Opposition Agent, not the most useful, but not useless either. Plague Engineer on Nomads is surprisingly good here. Pithing Needle is an awkward one. We can name Nomads. We can name Shuko. We can't name them both. It's probably worth having. Do you want these Sheoldred's Edicts? Like, they are relevant. So what do we not want from our deck? So the truth is, the Dark Depths line here is not great. So I think that means we're trimming the Cultists. And we could just trim the One Rings and the Cultists and have this and just play like a mono-black aggro deck. And that honestly doesn't seem the worst to me. We could cut some Dark Depths, but they are kind of mana producers underneath our Urborg. I think we're just going to go in like this with a bunch of disruption. We can still make a 2020 with the Thespian stage and the Hexmages. We're just less indexed into that. Cultist does kill the Teferi though. It's just not entirely useless. But I think Bowmasters is better. I think the Hymns and the Plague Engineers are better. No black mana. So you can imagine how bad this deck was when it had 4 Thespian stages in. Turn 1 Dauthi Voidwalker is not the worst. That stops them immediately comboing us. And opens us up to drawing Hexmage on turn 2. I think I will keep this and bin off 1 Dark Depths. Just get this Dauthi Voidwalker in underneath the days. No graveyard shenanigans for you, opponent. I do think Cephalid Breakfast is the best deck. That's my initial gut reaction to what the world looks like after the bannings. Haven't played enough games to confirm that yet, but I think it feels about right. Lotus Petal. Don't always see Lotus Petal builds. Maybe there's just the format is so fast that people are just trying to go faster. It might just be a singleton Lotus Petal to get off of the Urza Saga. I will play my Urza Saga. So there's no point doing Plague Engineer naming Nomad right now because they have the Shuko. If they have the Cephalid Illusionist right now, we just lose the game. They have a Nadu, they get 2 cards. No Nadu. Understood. Well, this is horrible. I want to make tokens. I also want to Pithing Needle the Shuko. They didn't have it last turn. So I'm going to assume that means they don't have it this turn. And just try and get our value. Because if we don't pressure our opponent, they will eventually win the game. So we need to actually have something going on. Like, slowing them down doesn't matter when they have so many different lines they can combo with. But if we have Pithing Needle on the Shuko and Plague Engineer on the Nomads, that stops them from comboing. Unless they're running Shaman and Core, which you tend to only see in the sort of Nadu Elf builds. Are we going to see Spooky Nadu times? A Ponder. Okay, so they can still win with a Cephalid Illusionist right now. But we've got options if we get another turn. I think it's right to at least put something in play to start taxing our opponents. So we can play Pithing Needle on Shuko, Pithing Needle on Nomads and Core as our next 2 plays. That's pretty good. I do like him, but I'm not about that right now. Let's go and get a Pithing Needle. I'll play this one out. I will play another Pithing Needle because it also pumps our construct. I could name Nomads and Core, or I could name Teferi Time Raveler. I think I'm going to name Teferi Time Raveler, because that can bounce out the Shuko one and then kill us. So this just locks us in, and then when we play the Plague Engineer, that will lock out the Nomad. But I'm probably more inclined to just him our opponent next turn than play the Engineer. There's a Saga of our opponent's very own. There is a Nadu. You got Nomads? They got the Nomads. Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't play something like this out last turn, which is what made us not do it. But yeah, this is awkward. That's the problem with this breakfast deck, in my opinion. It just has too many differing lines. Now, we could have played this one ultra safe and just given our opponent more time to sculpt. Maybe that's the correct thing to do. But then we're going to get buried by their Urza Saga tokens in that situation. Just too many lines of attack. Good old design mistakes. And now they have pendings and stuff, so they can just get rid of whatever they need to. I'm just going to play out this other Nomad. Yeah, we're not winning from here. All right. I lost to a bit of breakfast goodness there. So we started out strong, and then we lost to the mono blue main deck snap deck, and then the Nadu breakfast deck. So how do I feel about this deck? Honestly, it felt pretty good today. I think the changes we've made upon previous iterations of this deck have definitely improved it. Having more swamps, so we're more likely to cast our spells, was good. Like, we had some hands where we couldn't necessarily cast our spells, and that is just exacerbated as a problem if you have more Thespian stage. Didn't feel like we needed more of them because we can just search for it if we need to, but we've got the Mutated Cultist, so we've got redundancy on the Thespian stage half, so that worked quite nicely. We never did anything with the One Ring, really, so maybe this should be something else. Maybe we could have some more Hymns of Tourachs. I did like those in a lot of games. Maybe they could be some opposition agents to get some free wins that way off of the Dark Ritual. There's definitely some options that we could play there. But all in all, I think this deck is pretty viable. Like, it's not going to be taking the meta by storm at any point soon, but it does do some key things. It has some disruption in it, whether you're Dauthi Voidwalker in their graveyard, Thoughtseize in their hand, Orcish Bowmasters in their draw step. These are all relatively important things to do. It also has a quick game plan that we execute in. So if you're playing the slower, fairer depths decks, like the green-white depths, they can be very slow compared to the speed of the current format. So like today, we played against 4 combo decks in Eldrazi. Yesterday, I played against 4 combo decks and Eldrazi. So that's kind of telling you where the format is right now. So having something that's proactive and can actually do your game plan and win the game early is a lot better than trying to control what your opponent's doing, because there's so many disparate, broken, fast things to worry about that you can't catch them all. So yeah, next time I play this, I'll probably strip out the One Rings for something else. We never sort of lived the dream of Mutated Cultist, the Dark Depths into the One Ring. That's definitely a thing you can do. Maybe it's a little bit more on the win more side. Perhaps we could have something like a Dark Confidant. It doesn't seem great with more people playing Bowmasters right now though. So not entirely sure that's where I want to be. But I think we need something lower on the curve that we can actually cast more reliably than this One Ring. We brought it out a fair amount because of how fast the format is, and we didn't really feel like we had the time to leverage drawing all those cards. Alright, that's the end of this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I think it's just mono green for all the mono-coloured depths variants we have left to play. So stay tuned, and you'll be seeing that one on the channel very soon. Please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.